Not edible.
Like, oh, there's not the eggs. Thanks.
That's too much.
He says that the matrix.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to wait a minute or two to make sure everyone is here, and then we'll get started. All right, once again, if you're just joining us, good morning. We're going to wait a minute or two to make sure everyone here is in the meeting who'd like to join. If you can do me a favor, just to make sure that our audio is working properly, if someone could just go into the chat and say a quick hello, just so I know that you're hearing me all right, that would be excellent. Thanks, Donna. Appreciate that. Nice to know we are working here. Thankfully, we have no wind today at the farm, although we have some weather that is not conducive to flying bees. So we're going to adjust our agenda a little bit. I'll let Ted talk about that once we get started. That'll work out good. I better turn my phone off, huh?
Hi, all.
Hi, everyone. We are going to have everyone on mute, but if you have any questions over the course of the workshop, feel free to use the chat feature. We often get a lot of questions, so if we don't get your question right away, I do apologize. We'll get to it as soon as we can. Skip, I see your notice about the 7 a.m. start time. I'm still seeing 9:30 on my end. I'm not sure where you saw that, but I'd be interested to know where you saw that it was starting earlier to make sure we have consistent information. All right, Ted, are you feeling ready to go?
Ready to go? Yeah.
All righty. Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. Once again, my name is Corey Thomas. I'm the Education Director with Massaro Farm. We have Ted Jones from Jones Apiaries here for another beekeeping workshop. He's going to talk. We're going to adjust our agenda a little bit today. We're still going to get a lot of things done. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature. We'll try and get to your question as soon as possible. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's get started.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me. If you can't, let Corey know. Today is very, very humid. It's 60 degrees. The bees aren't flying. So we are not going to go disturb them too much because all the field bees are in there. And those are the guys that are defensive. So some things we won't be doing that I wanted to do. I was going to do an alcohol wash, but it's going to rile things up. But I am going to show you today how to make a nuke without finding the queen. I think every beekeeper should have a nuke going. I don't know if anybody attended the beekeepers meeting we had in the spring with the Connecticut beekeepers. Jamie Ellis recommends for every 5 colonies you should have a nuke running. It's a resource. If you get a hive in trouble, you can correct it by putting a nuke in there. You don't have to order a queen, then try to introduce it. A lot of options you can do with it. You can use it as a resource to produce brood, to boost up a weak colony. But everybody's afraid to make them because you have to find the queen. So I'm going to show you how to do it without finding the queen. Now, yesterday in this hive, we did do it. So I'll be able to show you the end result at the end. Okay. So first of all, you're going to pick your colony that you want to. You're going to go in and lightly smoke it. Make it with 2 frames of brood and a frame of honey, or 5, whatever you choose to. I always choose to make it with 2 frames of brood and a frame of honey and bees. So you have less bees, it's easier for acceptance in the queen. And when they get accepted, if you want to add a frame of brood later on from another colony, you can. So what we're going to do, we're going to take and pick 5 frames or 2 frames. We'll do 2 frames today. We're going to pick 2 frames of brood. I like to have 1 cap brood and 1 frame of larva, no eggs. You may have a little bit to find one, but the reason we don't want eggs is because they're going to be queen, and they're going to have a tendency to try to make emergency cells. When you have emergency cells, it's harder to introduce a mated queen, so you would have to go in and destroy those. So if you have older larvae, you know, white glistening larvae, rather large, and cap brood. Cap brood is, what's the first job of an emerging bee? A nurse bee. And that's what we need for making a new colony and acceptance of a queen, nurse bees. So we got a little mixture. So we're going to go into our hive. Your deep that you're going to use, have that ready over here next to it. We're going to go in. Here's the first frame as an example. It's covered in bees. We've got larvae and a lot of cap brood. So we're going to take all the bees now and shake every one of them off. You're going to put them over here in this new deep that you're using. You're going to go to the next one. Usually your frames of honey are going to be on the outside. So let's see if we can get a frame of honey. So here's a frame of honey, a food source for them. Here again, we're going to shake all the bees off. We don't care what's on there. Shake them all off in there. Okay, we're going to put the frame of honey on the outside. So here's our first frame of brood. Here's our frame of honey. So I'd like to get another frame of larvae. We have cap brood, so let's see if we can find some open larvae. And we just happen to have one here. It's all light and glistening. I see no eggs. There's a little bit of cap brood, but that's okay. So now we've got 2 frames. Now, if you have extra comb or anything, you can put another frame of comb. Because right now we have a honey flow going on, so they're going to be looking for open cells to store nectar. And also, this time to make nukes, we have a natural honey flow going on. Things go smoother. You get better acceptance rate. So I have one more. Here's an empty comb. We're going to put that in too. Okay. We shook all the bees off. There's no bees in here. That's why you can't do this in the beginning of April. You'll chill the brood. Now it's warm enough. All right, we take a queen excluder. First, we replace the frames we took out. You can put foundation in and have them draw a new foundation, or put empty comb, but you got to put 4 frames back in. Now we're going to place a queen excluder on top. Okay, any questions before I go any farther? Okay, we have our new hive here, right here. We're going to put that over the queen excluder. You can fill it up with other frames if you want, but it's not necessary. What's going to happen over time, bees never abandon brood. So in the next 24 hours, especially tonight when it cools down, they're all going to move up onto these frames. So when we come back 24 hours later, they're going to be covered with the bees, worker bees, whatever, nurse bees, a good mixture because we have brood in there. And that's what we need to accept a new queen. So we're going to cover it up, come back tomorrow morning. Okay. And we'll, all right, we'll come back tomorrow morning. I have a nuke box ready to go here, right here. I like to start them out in a 5-frame nuke box. For number one, it's warmer. And it's just, you can control things a lot easier. There's nothing wrong with making it in a 10-frame box and go from there, but you have more heat in a 5-frame box and you're going to see them, they'll expand more rapidly and then transfer them. Okay, so we'll come back tomorrow morning. Here's our hive. Now, trust you, I did this yesterday so we could have the finished product today, okay? So this was overnight. We're going to smoke the entrance. A little bit of smoke. No, they already glued it down. A little more smoke on the top. I had a honey super on this hive. I just threw it on top overnight. When we're done, we're going to replace it because the hive's going to be back to normal. We've made our nuke off it. But we'll set this aside. So this particular one, I did it with 5 frames. See if I can tip it forward just to show you. So there's 5 frames. You can see it's full of bees. And we don't have to worry about the queen because we have the queen excluder down below. So what we're going to do is lightly smoke them again, and we're going to transfer them to our nuke box. So the first one was a frame of honey. We got bees on it. I'm going to put that to the outside wall. We'll take the next one. All covered in nice bees, cap brood. No queen, don't have to worry about it. And I've screened the entrance here because we're going to take it to another location. This way we don't lose any bees. Here's a nice frame. This is all cap brood, both sides. So remember, a frame like this equals about 2,500 bees if it all emerges, or 3,000 bees. Everybody has a different number. But just remember, when they all emerge, it's going to be nurse bees and rapidly. Two more frames. This is a frame of empty comb. You see there's not many bees on there. They all went to the brood, just like they're supposed to. And the last frame is a full frame of honey we were kicking around, so we're going to give them that. They may not use it, but on a cloudy day when they're not flying, we're going to access that. Rack them all together.
Heather's asking, could you put that new nuke in the same yard or should you put it in another bee yard?
Okay, both answers yes. Here's the thing, if there's any forages in there, they're going to go back to a parent colony. So we like to move it to another yard for 2 weeks at least. Wow, that's not on the radar. Okay. So yes, I prefer moving it to another yard. If you don't, you're going to see the population go back a little bit if they're foragers because they're going to go back to their parent colony. All right, so we're going to cover it. And we'll ratchet strap it. And we're going to feed this. When I get to my new yard, that's when I'm going to insert the queen. And I'll put it between the 2 frames of brood. Yep, what are we going to, I think she's getting an umbrella, I hope. stand by here. We're getting rain. It wasn't supposed to rain until 11 o'clock. So we're going to feed it. So I like to use these or a jar. So we'll put that in now just to plug the hole.
Someone asked if there is a top entrance too, should that be closed off before doing this, or will the queen never go outside the hive?
I would close it off just so you don't lose bees.
Okay.
All right, in the meantime, we're going to go back to the parent colony. We'll fill this up when we get to the new location, okay, and install the queen. So we're going to take that deep off. We don't need it. We're going to smoke them because we got a lot of bees here raring to go. Now we happen to have comb, so yesterday we backfilled the empty spaces with comb. And the bees are starting on this honey super, so we're going to put a honey super back on. And then we're all done with this colony.
This works too. It's almost portable.
Any questions? I don't have an umbrella and stuff.
That'll work well over here in case this starts to get rained on. Yeah, just not like that. Perfect. I think we're managing with this.
Okay.
It's nice and light.
No, it's okay. Unfortunately, we don't have a big tent. Are there any questions on making your own nuke? It's not that difficult, as you can see. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid because if it failed the first time, you know, you're dealing with nature.
Someone asked, how long would you wait after putting the queen excluder on?
24 hours. Overnight, because when it cools down, that's when the more bees will move up. When you come back first thing in the morning and take it off, you'll have the most bees on there. Because as it warms up during the day, if they don't need all those bees, they're going to push them down to work or they'll go out and be foragers. So early morning, you know, 7, 8 o'clock when you can get back to the yard or in your backyard, whatever.
Yeah.
If you do leave it in the same yard, turn the entrance around the opposite way.
Okay. And if you don't have a new queen to put in, what should you?
Okay, if you don't have a new queen, then you can make a queenless split, but now you have to make sure you have eggs. And the thing with queenless splits, they don't always work. If the bees don't select the right age larva, that queen that you do make may be defective. The ovaries don't develop all the way, but if they do select the right one, you'll have a perfectly queen. So remember, from start to finish, it'll be about 42 to 45 days before you have your first emerging bee. So you got a long wait and your population is going to go down because remember, bees only live 45 days. So if a bee's 40 days old, that bee's dead in 5 days. So you're going to lose your population. Okay. A mated queen, you get quicker results, but you know, it's personal preference. It's fun raising your own queen with a walk-away split. We don't do them. But say you have a hive, you find a queen cell, you could do the same thing with a queen cell, put a queen cell in there, a superseder cell. So now you don't have as long. But yes, you can do it.
And where do you get the queen from for the nuke? Like if you wanted to get a queen, where did you get it?
Well, a lot of beekeepers sell them. You can get them out west, California, down south. We sell queens. We sell them for Heikem's queen bees out of California. You can call us. We'll make arrangements for you to pick one up. I guess there's some beekeepers in Connecticut that are selling them, local ones, raising them. They're quite accessible. If you go on Facebook, there's a lot of people advertising.
Okay.
All right, but Jones Apiaries, we have them until September. We bank them. We always have them available. I'll put a plug in there. Any other questions?
Yeah, it looks like good too.
7 days later, I'm going to go check to see that the queen's released.
Okay.
No sooner. I know some people do it 3 days. Here's what happens. Bees are funny. You go in there in 3 days and she just got released. Remember, the hive's sort of in chaos because they're queenless. They know they have a new queen in the cage. So if she just emerged and you go disturb the hive, they're going to think it's her fault and they will kill her. So wait to 7 days. I know everybody's impatient. We want to get in there, but wait to 7 days. And by then, if she was released on the 3rd day, she's probably going to be laying eggs by then and you'll be good. You go in there, you find eggs, that's it. Put it back together. Don't go start looking for her. If you got eggs, you know she's free. And let them build up for 2 weeks and then go in and do an inspection. I know we're all anxious. We like to get in there, but you got to delay it a little bit. Give her a chance to get situated and in operation.
What's your opinion about split support hives?
Pardon?
What's your opinion about split support hives?
Split support?
Not sure if I know something.
I'm not sure what they mean.
Oh, okay. So maybe you could clarify what you mean by that, about the split support hives. But another one here. I had a hive swarm, captured it with the old queen hive from which they swarmed, had lots of queen and supersedure cells. What would you do with them all? Make nukes?
I would leave some of them because that's your new queen. You could take a supersedure cell and make a nuke if you want. Supersedure cells are great queens because, you know, they had the queen put the egg in there and it was the right age larva that they selected. So supersedure cells are good. Okay. Swarm cells are all right. They're usually pretty good. Some people say you're breeding for swarming, but I don't know about that. I disagree. You know, a swarm cell's good. Leave some in your hive to swarm because that's your new queen, or you're going to find out in 3 weeks you're a queen hive. And it'll be a lot harder to introduce a queen.
I have a weak nuke, not enough bees. Any suggestions on how to boost population quickly? Can you bring in a frame of nurse bees from another hive or shake them in? How to prevent biting?
Okay. I would go into another hive that's doing well, pull out a frame or two of brood, shake all the bees off, and put it in your nuke. Sounds like they're lacking nurse bees. As long as you got a good pattern. Are you feeding them too? You must be feeding them. I mean,
yes, feeding. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. We're caught up on questions for now.
All right, well, we'll move on. We can go look into a hive. We'll see how it goes. Let's go check. This is a nuke we put in back on 4/29. And I believe we inspected it last week, but let's inspect it today and see what's going on. We have been feeding this nuke. Is that rain coming down?
It's hard to tell. I'm keeping the cover on just in case.
I thought I had an umbrella in the truck on the side door in the back. I thought, that's the key word. All right, we're still feeding this because it was a nuke. We want it to really get going here. I'll take the feed off. We'll give them a little smoke in there.
Someone asked yesterday, I saw a queen zipping around between the outer cover and inner cover. I immediately replaced the outer cover. Do you think it was a rejected queen? She was alone.
Maybe she came back from the mating flight. I don't know.
Okay.
Or it's a virgin and she's just out. She was outside the outer cover?
I think between outer cover and inner cover.
Well, maybe she just went up there to see what's going on. I can't answer it. You know, queens do what they want.
And how long will the nuke last without a queen?
Well, you don't have any new bees coming in. They're going to slowly die off till eventually there's nobody left.
Okay.
You know, it depends how old the bees were. Remember, a summer bee only lives 45 days. So a month and a half, you probably have a dead hive or almost. You tell me if it's getting too wet for that camera.
I think we're all right. I can't even really feel it at this point. And also,
pull the outside frame here. We're putting nectar in and sugar water. I'm going to set this down. Right there. There's no queen on it. I'm looking for the queen. or eggs, okay? We don't have the sunshine with us today, but this frame is full of cat brood and eggs. Second one in. So she's here working. She might even be on it. We got raindrops falling, so we may get cut short here. They don't like the rain, especially when you're poking them apart. You know, if somebody took the roof off your house in the rainstorm, you wouldn't be happy either. I hear big raindrops too. Mm. Here's another frame. Wherever there's a space, she's putting an egg in. Over here, this is older brood. This is all hatched out, and she's backfilling it already just with eggs right away. So she's doing a good job. It's growing. This is a frame of pollen. We got a little burr comb in the bottom here. We have a swarm button here, just a button. There's nothing in them. Remember, in the past, I've said they just build them for no reason. Don't worry about it until they put an egg in there. I'm going to knock this off. They usually put drone brood in there. Lots of eggs. We won't see them with the camera. We don't have sunlight working for us. We'll go a little farther here. Okay, here's a capped older brood. You can see how much there is there. Same thing here. So we got this another one like when these frames emerge, we're going to have a lot of bees, and they're going to move up into that second box, and they're going to really go to town. So things are progressing. This was a 5-frame nuke starting out. And remember, we had a cool, wet May. Well, if it rains much harder, we're going to have to.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you see, there's all kinds of cat brood, so they're busy. Some more buttons here. Nothing in it. So I think we're going to close this up and go into the second box quick. We'll put all the frames back. I'm very happy with the pattern. You know, she's up and running and doing a good job. Try to keep the honey on the outside frames, because then they don't usually put brood on the outside. Remember I said usually? All right. We put the sheet back up there, and that's heavy. But just so you can see, we put 4 frames of foundation in there. So a nuke is a good way to draw a foundation. They love drawing a foundation. So when those bees on the bottom emerge, one of the first jobs of a young bee is a wax builder after 10 days. So we'll have a lot of wax builders, and we'll have the heat next week. So we should see some development here up top. And we just may throw a honey super on today because there's a lot of nectar coming in. But let's just see what's going on the top. They haven't even touched the top ones. So I'm going to go into the center. They're playing with it. We're thinking about it. Okay, we got some eggs and larvae. So just now, if you see here a little burr comb, just take and pinch that off. You know, tell them to do it over again. So they're just starting up here, which is about right, about a month. So they're on track. So in a week, all these eggs are going to turn into larvae, and later on, they'll be all capped brood. they're doing good. Here they're playing with this frame here. We got a little burr comb. I just take it off. You know, there's not quite enough bees up there for them to draw. So give this hive a week and you'll be seeing a big change. And I think while we're here, we'll check a package if the rain lets up a little. If Corey's all right with that.
I don't mind. We got a lot of questions here.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, I don't want to. I wanted to get through this stuff before the rain picked up.
Okay, here they're getting ready. There's no eggs here yet, but they're getting ready. All in the corners here is all nectar or syrup. And you hear about the ring of honey. That's right here. Come down 2 inches. This is all honey. The queen won't cross that once that's established. That's why we don't use excluders, all right? And you know what? If she went up and put some eggs in the honey super, when it hatches, they're going to fill it with honey and push her back down. It's not the end of the world, okay? But this is that, you always hear about the ring of honey in the corners, and then over here you're going to see some ring of pollen, and then here's the brood. The food supply is always close by to the brood. So they're getting ready to get going here. This has just got a lot of syrup and honey in it. So what we're going to do, right now, I don't know where you are in your area, but the honey flows on, okay? So there's going to be a lot of nectar coming in next week with the temperatures rising. Burr comb on the bottom, I'm just going to scrape it off. Okay, we always rack the frames tight. You don't want to have space because that's when you get a lot of burr comb. Divide the space on the outside so you always got room to pull one frame apart to lift that first one out. Okay. So with all the bees down below we have in the cap brood, they'll get up here and do this right away. And she's going to be looking for a place to lay more eggs. Okay. Yeah, bring it over. So I'm going to throw a honey super on with comb. Because a lot of that open nectar you saw, they'll take and move that up overnight if the queen needs a spot. Capped honey is a lot harder for them to move, but open nectar they will. Now this box here has 9 frames. Once it's been extracted once, we go to 9 frames. So they draw the comb out farther and the comb weighs more, so you have more honey per box. If it was all foundation, you'll always do 10 frames, deep or medium. Always 10 frames when you're drawing foundation. So this will give them plenty of room to store the nectar if the rain stops. All right, I think we're going to stop on this one.
Yeah.
In fact, we're going to put the feeder on, and when that's empty, we'll stop feeding them.
Gonna make this our last stop.
Hmm?
You make this one our last stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we should stop.
Sounds good.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut it short because of the rain, folks.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We're getting rained out here.
How many questions do they have?
What's that?
Is there a lot of questions?
There are. I'm wondering if there's some other way. Maybe we can answer those not out in the rain at a later point.
Go to the barn and do it? Or not?
That works for me. If it works for you.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can bring this into the barn. We can do that.
We don't have a tent or nothing. Or we could go in the shed, I guess.
Oh, we could do that. All right, folks, we're going to transition here to the shed to answer some of your questions, and then we'll finish up. See if I can do this with getting the iPad minimally wet.
Unfortunately, the weatherman was wrong.
I know, right? We were looking so good.
That's why I didn't even want to think of canceling. I kept following it.
Bear with us, folks. I'm going to...
I'll fix this up.
Okay.
You just shed open. You got it?
Yep.
How much time we got left? Battery.
Oh, battery, we're fine. We got it's 10:06.
Oh, wow. I don't think we can go that long. Let's see.
No, it's okay. We can get through the questions, yeah.
Go into our shed. It's a little messy, but out of the rain. At least we get your questions done.
Oh, there's a,
Top one.
there you go.
I fixed all the screen the other day when I
Oh,
was here.
thank you. All right.
All right.
Makeshift workshop.
The lights.
I know, it's okay. They can see you just fine.
You want me to stand by the door? You good?
Yeah, it's actually good lighting right here.
All right.
All right, let's see here. Where did we leave
It's over
off?
here, this room. All right. Switch.
Sorry, folks, I'm just catching up here to where we were. So Bill followed up on his question before. He said a split hive, lower deep has divide deep into two individual hives covered by two separate 4-frame nukes, entrance on opposite sides. And he was asking about opinion about splitting support hive. I'm not sure if.
I'm not. What he has is the Palmer method
Okay,
of making a double nuke.
got it. All right.
And that's a good way to do it if you have the equipment set up for it.
Okay.
I'm not sure what he's talking about splitting it. What you would do with that, you can make two hives out of that. You have two nukes.
Okay. So Doris and Rich are asking, I have two swarms. One left 9 to 10 capped queen cells. The other hive left 2 or capped queens. The one with multiple queens was in various stages of brood. The other all brood hatched out. Please advise. By the way, no queens seem to have emerged.
Okay, just don't touch them. Mark the date down that the swarm went off. They usually swarm just before they cap the queen cells. So usually it's 6-7 days later they'll emerge. And then you have to wait for them to get mated and go out and come back. So I always tell people at least 2 weeks before you see eggs. And I've seen it where it's been 3 weeks. Just weather, temperature, all has a lot to play into it. After 3 weeks, if you don't see eggs, then something happened. She went on a mating flight, a bird got her, something happened, a windshield. You may have to look into getting a mated queen. But 95% of the time, the new queen works out, okay? It's just that 5%. But you gotta give it time, you gotta be patient.
So someone asked, we paired a nuke with our queenless hive. How long should we keep feeding the colony? And when should we put on the honey super? And other folks are asking how long to feed a nuke for.
Well, until it's grown up. If this is a new nuke, it's a new nuke. If it's a new nuke, you feed it till all the frames are full of brood and they have stores. But you must be careful. You don't want to feed it so much that there's nowhere to lay eggs, because then they're going to think about swarming. So I say if you got brood on the 4th frame, it's time to move it into a 10 frame. Don't give them a chance to think about swarming. And if you're on foundation in that 10 frame, you're going to have to feed them until all that's drawn out.
All right. I'm a new beekeeper getting my nuke in the next week. What's the best location in my 5-acre yard? What direction should the hive face? Or like in terms of sunlight, things like that.
I like south, southeast. It's good, especially good in the wintertime. You get little sun. Protected from the wind. You don't want to be in a gully, a low spot, a lot of moisture.
All right.
If wind is a problem, you may have to put up a windbreak in the fall for the winter. I have one location where wind's a problem, but I'm being paid to be there, so I do tar paper the back of the hives just to protect them from the wind.
Okay.
Otherwise, we don't wrap our hives.
In a resource hive, when do you put the second story on?
Well, when they're out of room. You know, I would say when the 7th to the 8th frame is full of brood or honey, I would throw the second hive on.
Okay.
Second box, deep.
Someone asked, I have 2 hives that swarmed. Both hives have sealed queen cells. Did you say it would be 45 days before I see eggs?
45 days before a worker brood emerges. Okay. It could be a little less, but it's going to be a long time. That queen's got to emerge. It's going to be another 6-7 days. Then she has to get energy fed and go out on a mating flight. Sometimes they go out twice, comes back, and she's tired from all that flying because there is evidence they go up to 5 miles to get to a drone congregation area. Come back and get her nourishment, and she'll start laying eggs. So egg to emergence on a worker bee is what? 21 days. So if you add all those days up, it's pretty close to 42 days for the first working emerging worker bee. So you got to remember the bees that you had, if you don't know what their age is, but if they were 40 days old already, in 5 days they're going to be done, especially if they're a forager. So your population may go down a little bit. You may not notice it, and you may, until that queen actually kicks in. And you'll notice when you have a new queen like that, it's like they know they got to make up for lost time. They're going to go crazy because we have the temperature. It's warm in the day and night, so she's laying eggs anywhere she has to in the hive because they can keep it at that 92-degree temperature, even if it goes down to 70 at night. So you'll see rapid expansion now this time of year.
All right. A recently swarmed colony, days later, cast a swarm that I believed contained several virgin queens. Does this occur? And if such a swarm is captured, what should one expect?
Well, only one of the queens are going to make it if there was a lot of virgins in there. Somebody's going to fight and win. Usually there's only one virgin, and they may cast a secondary swarm with the other virgin. But the other virgins in the hive, the first one out is going to go kill the other queen cells. Here again, it's nature. They're going to do whatever they want.
How long can a purchased queen last before being introduced to the nuke?
Long as they're banked properly. A virgin queen, was that?
A purchased queen.
Oh, purchased. A mated queen. A mated queen can go, long as they're banked properly and taken care of, you can go till you're ready to use them. A virgin queen, from the only data I've seen, after 2 weeks, they've lost their ability to go mate. Okay, but a mated queen, yeah, we have them all summer. Banking them, there's a lot to it. It's simple, but you have to go in every 10 days and rotate cat brood up top where the queens are because they need nurse bees. And what's in cat brood? Nurse bees. So after 10 days, they've emerged, you've got to get another population in there of nurse bees. As long as you're feeding them, queen banks we have, they go through a gallon of feed every 4 days because they're feeding a lot of queens. We also supplement it with protein patties just in case we get rainy days that they can't get out and get a good amount of pollen. As long as they're cared for properly, they're good. I mean, all your big queen producers, they bank them. They keep producing them and banking them, and when the orders come in, they ship them out because you couldn't do it and wait for the next batch of queens to come out.
Do you keep the entrance reducers on all year long?
The metal ones we do, yes. There's enough air circulation and holes for the bees to get in and out.
Okay. Could you use a flashlight to look for eggs on a day like today?
Yeah, you could.
Okay. Does it hurt to add a second deep box early, especially if you don't want bees to swarm and new to process and don't want to miss?
Well, you can do it, but what's going to happen, bees are going to chimney. So you're going to have foundation on the bottom. It's not going to get drawn out. So you're going to have to go in and rearrange and get the drawn combs on the bottom. Once they go up to the second, they won't go back down to draw foundation. So yeah, you can do it. It's just you're going to have chimney. So when that second box gets half full or 3/4, you're going to have to do some arranging of your comb. And when you do that, be very careful that you don't hurt the queen.
Do the frames have to go in exactly the same way as you took them out? If you face them differently, will that be detrimental?
No, just confuse them for a day. This is a regular hive. Yeah, just confuse them.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes you have a foundation on the outside wall. They're not touching, so you would take and put that in the center of the brood nest. That forces them to draw it out for you.
Okay. Did you say you might add that super today, even though your second box isn't drawn out?
Say that again?
Someone was asking, did you say that you were going to add a super today, even though your second box isn't
The
drawn
parent
out?
colony that we split, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's so much nectar coming in there that they're going to need to move the nectar that's in the second deep up for her to have a place to lay.
Okay.
That's why we added it.
Let's see more. How do you get that smoke so good?
Practice. I'll give you, you know what I use to light it? I used to use the baling twine and shred it. You know how you get a coffee tray when you get 4 cups in it, that cardboard? Taking about a quarter of it in small pieces and light that at the bottom of your smoker and get the flames going. Your smoker will go all day. The whole secret is to get a good fire on the bottom and then pack it real tight so it can't get hot. Takes practice, but I found that works very good.
We installed a package on April 4th, and they've only drawn out 5 frames. We're feeding. Is there anything else we can do? We checked yesterday and saw eggs, larvae, and capped brood.
Okay.
We have another hive installed on the same day, and they have built up almost 2 full deeps.
Well, was your hive queenless for any time?
See,
What's the pattern look like?
See
Could be a number of things. Maybe something happened to the queen and they made a new one. Are there a lot of eggs in the hive now? Or because of the cold weather? Could be a lot of factors. First, I check the pattern. What's the pattern look like?
all right. I have 2 large ponds on my property with a small island in the middle. Would it be okay to put a new hive on a little island, or would it be too moist?
No, it'll be all right, as long as you don't mind going out there to get to it. You got to take care of it. You know, if it needs help.
And Seth followed up and said there are a lot of eggs now.
There are?
Yeah.
Maybe she was a slow starter. I don't know what to tell you. If your hive is overpopulated, the other one, what you can do to help her out, because the key to raising a lot of bees is to have nurse bees. I would take a couple frames of capped brood. You said that other hive is really cranking. Take a couple frames of capped brood, shake the bees off so you don't transfer the queen, and introduce that to the hive that's a little behind. Because it's warm weather now, so you know they can keep it warm. Adding those extra nurse bees will kick things up. So that's the other thing with 2 hives, you can always equalize them if one gets ahead of the other. You know, queens, bees, they're like people. We're all different, you know. We all have different speeds. But that's one option, is to equalize it. Just introduce 2 frames. I wouldn't go much more than 2, just to not overwhelm them. Okay. And I think you'll see a big difference.
More. I have a captured swarm for one of my hives on 5/18. I have capped brood and eggs on 5/20. Is that normal?
That's good.
All right.
You got the old queen there. You know, nothing wrong with an old queen. It's just that she decided she was going to spread the population.
Excellent. I think we're good.
All right. I think because of the rain, folks, it's getting heavier. I guess we're going to have to say thanks for coming. And have a happy Memorial Day. Enjoy the weekend. I guess the rest of it's going to be nice weather. We'll see you till the next one. Maybe, hopefully, the next one will be live and everybody will be here.
Excellent. And thank you, Ted, so much for joining us. I'm going to switch around the camera here so you can see me. So, folks, you're going to get an email from me later on today or early tomorrow with the recorded video to watch. If you enjoyed the content today and supporting this sort of work, I will include a link to donate to the Connecticut Beekeepers Association. If you have any other questions, you can email me, education@massarofarm.org. And thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Hope you all have a great day.